So Adrian, it's World Wetlands Day on 2nd of February, a very important day raising the awareness of wetlands. Why, as a man who's worked with wetlands and the environment, sustainability for so many years, why are wetlands so important?
Well, wetlands play an important role in both environment and economic aspects of our lives. In terms of environment, the wetlands of course store water, they help regulate the flow of rivers and therefore they help control flooding, but they're also important for many people for livelihoods. We might think of fishing of course first, and some things like collecting reeds for craft industries, but in many parts of the world wetlands are also important for agriculture, because people use seasonal wetlands for cultivation during the drier part of the year when they can't get a harvest from the rain-fed uplands. So wetlands therefore contribute to filling a hunger gap that people face in their sources of food. So environmentally, economically, but also culturally in terms of people's spiritual and aesthetic pleasures which come from wetlands. And finally, we mustn't forget the whole point about what they call supporting services from wetlands, which is in terms of nutrient cycling, but also things like carbon storage. And of course, big peat wetlands, whether they be frozen ones in the north or whether they be tropical ones, are major stores of carbon. So wetlands are vital to us as humanity on this planet.
And I suppose your background is that you're a geographer. You will know about the importance of wetlands. You just explained them to us now. I suppose a lot of people in the world, you know, like you were in Ethiopia, they'd not appreciate, would they, how important their environment, the wetlands, were to their survival in a way, to their future well-being and what have you. Are they beginning to be more aware now?
I think wetlands have often been regarded as a wasteland, something which is not easy to manage because you've got to control water level if you want to, even if you want to grow rice in it. But increasingly, wetlands are actually becoming extremely valuable. You know, in Africa, it always used to be said, well, the agricultural frontier is as population grows and people clear the forest. The agricultural frontier now is in wetlands in so many places. People are coming down into the valley bottoms and cultivating there because they're under such pressure in terms of feeding their families that the next bit of food they can get, where are they going to get it from? It's often from these seasonal wetlands which they're going down into these valleys and cultivating. And that's putting a lot of pressure on wetlands and dangers that they get overused, misused, degraded, and then we lose them. And if we lose these wetlands which can feed people by providing just an extra 10% of their food needs in a year, then we're going to have serious problems. And that's what we've been trying to do, looking at how to use wetlands sustainably for food supply in order to help people meet their needs, particularly in this hungry season.
Yes, you say you recently set up the Centre for Sustainable and Resilient Communities here at the University of Huddersfield. What have you achieved over there? Where are you now in Ethiopia, and where do you still see room to go? Where do you think you'll end up?
Well, what we started with was a collaboration between Huddersfield University and Addis Ababa University on a research project funded by the European Union. And that was between 1996 and 2000. At the end of that, we helped some of our staff set up a national NGO called Ethio Wetlands and Natural Resources Association, which has grown and grown and grown since we set it up with one person and one motorcycle, and that was it. They now run projects in 4 different regions of Ethiopia. They probably have a turnover of several million euros a year, and they have really helped put wetlands on the map in Ethiopia. They've helped develop a national policy towards wetlands, and basically they get on and do it. And we are no longer involved except in a sort of collaborative way of discussions and helping with some publications. But in 2000, when we finished that project in Ethiopia, we also set up something called Wetland Action, a sort of spin-off organisation from the university, which for the last 14 years has been working on trying to raise the profile of wetlands from the perspective of livelihoods, and particularly from the perspective of agricultural use in wetlands. And Wetland Action has worked in a number of African countries: Ethiopia, Rwanda, Burundi, Zambia, Malawi, South Africa and Sierra Leone, working with local partners, trying to share our research findings, develop other research projects which we can do with local organisations usually. And also we work with international NGOs, not just local ones. So we're working with an organisation called Self-Help Africa, which is an international NGO working in, I think, 6 African countries. We've also worked with Catholic Relief Services in Rwanda and Burundi, and we basically are trying to raise the profile of our perspective on how wetlands can be sustained and maintained as a productive resource if you understand how they function and how communities manage them. Because there's a lot of knowledge in communities which can be strengthened and developed into achieving sustainable use.
The University of Huddersfield, inspiring tomorrow's professionals.